Hi, I'm Gary Schleifer, and this is Beyond the Page, brought to you by Choice, the magazine of professional coaching. Choice is more than a magazine. It's a community of people who use and share coaching tools, tips, and techniques to add value to their businesses and impact their clients. It's an institution of learning built over the course of 20 years. Yes, we're in our 21st year of publication, dedicated to improving the lives of coaches and their clients, because we all want to make a difference, right? In today's episode, I'm speaking with Master Mentor Coach Clare Norman, who is the author of an article in our latest issue, Journey to Excellence, Activating Mentor Coaching and Coaching Supervision. Her particular article, which I love the title, and I want to talk more about that, is Unlearning the Key to Mentor Coaching. A little bit about Clare. She has over 20 years of coaching experience. She's an MCC, is highly sought after by other expert coaches, as well as successful coach training companies as a master mentor coach. Now, first of all, I know I'm going to go into the rest of this, but I'm just dying to know, how did you become a master mentor coach?
It's a self-designated title.
Oh, it's like me. I'm a CSO. I'm a chief schmoozing officer.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
Just think, this may come along that, you will make it happen. Stranger
Yeah.
things happen in our profession.
Yeah.
Clare,
I figure that I wrote the first English language book on mentor coaching called Mentor Coaching, A Practical Guide. And what I don't know about mentor coaching, well, I don't know what the end
is yet to be known.
It's yet to be known. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Well, let me add a little bit more about you. I'm going to talk directly to you and our audience at the same time. Continually sharpen individuals' coaching edge and upskill mentor coaches so they can deliver high quality feedback to their coaches in development. Your laser focus is on mindset shifts, which you wrote a lot about in the article. Thank you. And your knack for spotting marginal gains, I love that, has made her a go-to person for coaches looking for mentorship and practical, meaningful ways to improve their practice. You have an international following of both coaching peers and senior leadership. You're making a difference in the world via the professional application of coaching. And what you didn't say for me to say, so thank you for saying it, is you wrote the first English language book about it. Why did you have to say English language? Was there another language that came before?
Yeah, somebody beat me to the punch, and I hadn't realized it until after I published mine that I can't remember who the author was, but he had written a Spanish language book on mentor coaching. So
Damian Goldvark?
Yes, I think it was.
Who is just above you on the header in the magazine, who we also have interviewed. So I love how the worlds collide. We are it's a small coaching world. Small coaching. Well, okay, now I'm going to say, hey, Clare, thanks for joining us today.
It is lovely to be here.
Yay, calling in from the UK. Thank you so much for taking the time. Well, I normally ask the writers, like, why did you write the article? Well, kind of obvious why you wrote it, but what called you to write for Choice?
Well, one of my colleagues actually, she sent me the call to action that you had posted about this particular I was going to say episode, but it's not an episode.
Issue.
Thank you. Being about mentor coaching and supervision. And she said, of course you've got to write something, Claire. So I was like, yes, of course I have. So that was what led me into writing the article.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for doing so. I want to go back to your bio, and you said you're sought after by coach training companies. Are you starting to see now that corporations are also calling for mentor coaches? Because I've heard that some contracts have to have coaching supervisors.
Yes, so I am doing some mentor coaching in corporates who have an internal coaching pool.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I'm not sure that everybody recognizes the difference between mentor coaching and supervision. In fact, I know they don't know the difference.
Right.
And so, there is an education process about how can the two play in the same sandpit but give you different outcomes, with supervision being about keeping us safe and sane, and mental coaching keeping us sharp. And if you put those three together, you get safe, sane, and sharp. And so, more and more coaches are coming directly for mentor coaching, partly, because it's a requirement of the ICF,
Right.
but also, I'm trying to change the perception of other coaching bodies and coaches who are aligned with other coaching bodies, to show them actually how much value they can get from mentor coaching alongside their supervision, which is self-reported.
So are you doing work on return on investment, that impact studies? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't gone that far. That's hard to measure. But the upskilling, the leveling up, as our government would call it in the UK, of coaches who may have some blind spots that don't get pulled out in supervision, because supervision is self-reported and you only bring what you bring. Whereas in mentor coaching, because you've got a light shone directly on your coaching, because you bring a recording or you do a live coaching session with a mentor coach observing, there's nowhere to hide. And although that probably sounds really scary for some people, I can't hide. Actually, it's the best form of learning in conjunction with supervision. I contend that, I spend my development money on supervision and mentor coaching primarily, because they're so individually tailored to me and where I am as a coach and my journey of mastery, that I think that is where the return on investment comes, much more so than more training.
Right.
Isn't tailored to me as an individual.
Okay, so if you had all of your supervision, all your mentoring covered, what would you learn next? Because you're kind of like the lead of the pack in this area.
In the area of mentor coaching?
No, just in general.
Well, I only just got my MCC. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a newbie of 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe.
Wow.
Still basking in that glory. But as somebody said to me, one of my friends so kindly put it, he said, "Claire, you've just reached base camp."
How true. Yeah, what a great way to say that. True. Yeah, because it's not a destination. That's why I always say the journey to mastery, right?
Yeah, well, and I would say the journey of mastery, because there's no two. There is no destination, as you said.
Oh, so, Claire, now I'm going to have to change my closing statements from now on.
Yes.
Oh, journey of mastery. Well, thank you. I've just unlearned and relearned.
There we go.
Which brings me to the article. Now, you entitled it Unlearning. I learned unlearning in a course with Janet Harvey on my journey. Oh my gosh. How do we say it now? Journey
of
mastery. So I can't even remember it already. Journey of mastery. Hold on. Put it in the book. Put it in the book. Okay. Yes. Journey of mastery. And I heard unlearning and I was like, wow, what's that? So I'd really love for you to just expand upon how you came about that, how you use it and that sort of thing. What do you mean by that?
Well, technically, according to the research, it is not possible to unlearn. So um, it, we're more like we are reframing what we already know.
Oh, okay.
And we know that as coaches that we're supporting people to reframe mindsets that may not be so useful to them in
Mhm.
changes that they want to make. And exactly the same is so for coaches. We um, we start on our journey as coaches with many, many mindsets which we have adopted through life and work, through the interjections from our parents or our peers or our workplaces, or even our coach training. You know, we get these interjections from all over the place, which we then kind of integrate into our beliefs and ways of being.
Right.
And they serve us in normal life, if you like,
Mhm.
but they can get in the way of us being the best coaches we can be.
Hmm.
So, for example, our parents, many of our parents, and I am generalizing, but this seems to resonate with a lot of people, many of our parents taught us that it's rude to interrupt. And it is
I'm
rude.
sorry, what?
Yeah, that's quick enough. And it is rude to interrupt in the normal course of conversation, but in coaching, there could be a time and a place where it could be useful if the person we're working with is telling the story that they've told 100 times to other people before, because they're not going to get anything new from filling us in on the detail. So as long as we've asked permission in our session contracting to interrupt, there is nothing wrong with interrupting, to just check in with them that this is whether this is useful to them to say it out loud, whether they're joining some new dots or not.
Mhm.
If they're getting new thinking, then great. But if they're not getting to new thinking, which is what coaching is meant to be about, then let's just make a conscious decision about whether to keep telling that story and filling me in as the coach. So that's one of the mindset shifts that we might need to reframe or unlearn, getting rid of our mother or father's voice on top of our shoulder saying,
Long time ago, sister, long time ago.
yeah, yeah. But even though it was a long time ago, it has stuck.
Yeah.
And so I've discovered 83 of those mindsets that have stuck with us that are not particularly useful in coaching.
Hmm.
Now, I don't want to make them rules. You must do this, you must do that, you should do the other, you should believe this, not that.
Mhm.
But I've certainly noticed that if people can make some shifts in those mindsets and let go of those unhelpful mindsets and move towards something different, then their coaching and therefore the results of their coaching can be exponentially better, different,
Yeah.
more.
And I'll just bet one of the ways to do that is with a mentor coach.
Exactly. Yeah. Acting on. Yes. So I would contend that mentor coaching should not only be looking at the competencies, because the competencies are the skills, right?
Right.
And we use the PCC markers as the guide for how a coach can show up in order to meet the standard. But if the coach and the mentor coach do not look at the mindset that goes behind the skill set, then the coach might be able to change their behavior for long enough to be able to come up with some recordings that they can submit to the ICF, for example, if they're going for a credential. But if they have not worked on their mindset first, they're going to slip back to old ways as soon as they've got their credential. And that's not the point of this whole process. The point is to, keep learning, keep growing, and not to slip back to those old beliefs.
So how does a coach or a mentor coach help in that process of keeping the new learning in place?
Well, so ideally, the mentor coach would ask, so what's going on for you when you say X? What is the little voice that's talking to you?
Right.
And where does that little voice come from? And how useful is that little voice these days? How useful is that little voice for you in coaching? How useful is it for the person you're working with? I call them the thinker. So you're getting underneath the surface in order to help the coach to recognize where this belief comes from, and then asking them whether they wish to actually adopt a different belief.
Okay. Yeah.
So to unlearn the one that's getting in the way, potentially in the way, and relearn a new one. Because then if they choose to adopt that new belief, then the skills and the competencies will fall into place, because it will just make much more sense.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that explanation and example, in a sense. You have me going in my head. One of the things my parents used to say is, work hard and you'll get ahead. And I always counter in my mind to work smart. But it's interesting how it starts with the old belief. I'm reminding myself, so I've obviously got a key to the mindset change going, nope. And then relearning leads me to, I'm very good at organizing and with systems. So working hard doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense in a way to get something done, maybe, but not as a way of living. And how do I work smart? So there's obviously a system missing here, and boom, on off I go, right? So it's all making sense.
And that is one of the mindsets that I discovered, was that coaches are still holding on to that voice of try harder, work hard, when actually coaches, if they could let go of that need to work so hard and actually put the onus on the person they're working with to think hard, to build their thinking muscles, to enable them to become independent critical thinkers, the coach is doing themselves out of a job, but that is what we should be doing.
Exactly.
And so it's a very different mindset in coaching. I really see coaches working way too hard, taking far too much responsibility on their shoulders, because that's the mindset that they've been taught by their parents or by school, and they haven't yet let it go.
I remember having a coach, and she used to send me notes afterwards about our session. And I was like, and of course I never read them. Not really. Like, I saw them and I'm like, and one time, because we were also friends, but I had a contractor as a coach. I said, I think I've actually said, why are you doing that? You're working way too hard. And I think she did eventually stop, because of course that, for us at least, it altered our agreement, which is fine, right? You're always revising the agreement, but and one, I'm going to say and on that is, and if you do that, where you work on and this isn't the right word, of course, but the quality, the safe, sane, sharp areas of your coaching, you'll gain more credibility. Your clients will talk you up more, because you're having that much more of an impact. So it's it's actually along with what you said in the article and what you're saying today. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the beliefs that I wrote about in the article is this one that from
Marcia.
yeah, well, I was going to say the other one actually from the Coaches Training Institute around
Oh, right.
creative
Naturally creative,
and whole.
resourceful.
And we all spout that one as a belief. Yes, I believe that all of the people I work with are creative, resourceful, and whole. But what I actually see in practice in coaching sessions that I observe is a belief that, oh no, they don't know enough. So I'll just insert something, or I'll ask a leading question that enables them to get to the
Guilty.
caught ya. So, there is definitely a difference between espoused values and lived values in coaching. And we need to question ourselves. Okay, if I'm saying that I believe that people are creative, resourceful, and whole, am I really following through on that in the ways that I speak and behave and ask questions and notice things, etc., etc.? Or actually, am I belying that particular belief?
Right. Yeah. When I was rereading that for today's conversation and hearing it again, I hear the step that I usually find I need to take: shut up.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
when I hear that in my head, I'm like, oh, no, this isn't about me. This is about them. Wait a minute. See what, like, you've done the question, whatever the question is, non-leading, and then you just wait. And it's like silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Cool.
best question.
Yeah.
Absolutely golden. And yet, that's something that people have grown up to believe is awkward. And so as coaches, we really need to get over that mindset that silence is a bad thing. It's really is the best question ever.
I'm torn between we have a friend and he is a verbal processor. So I'm torn between, is it verbal processing or can we just have some silence?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's so interesting to watch when you're a coach and you're okay, I'm fine with silence.
Mm.
But to watch people who are just squirming if there isn't something being said by two or more people in a conversation, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny, really funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a little step back into Clare Norman's life.
Okay.
And what have you unlearned yourself as part of your journey of mastery?
Well, one of the things that I have been learning, well, unlearning first, I needed to unlearn what I had been taught in coach training around reflecting back what I had heard in order to show that I was listening. So you would think that's a good thing. I mean, it actually is one of the PCC markers for us to be able to quickly reflect back what we've heard in order to support the client to hear it themselves. But actually more powerful, I have been discovering, is to build in that reflection into my next question, or to show that I've been listening or that I've heard by integrating their words or their phrase into the next question. So I then don't need to take airspace by reflecting back what I heard, because I can do it in that question.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I've been finding is really powerful for getting out of their way and enabling them to get back into the thinking space as quickly as possible.
Right. And still incorporating the reflective action, the reflective process.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, brilliant.
And then another one that I have been unlearning is around emotions. And so I have learned to lean in much more to emotions, to feel comfortable and confident that the emotions that are there in the room in that moment are useful, and that there is wisdom in those
No
emotions.
kidding. Yeah.
So I've had to get over this thing that we got taught about, the difference between coaching and therapy, and you don't, when not to go there because it's therapeutic. Whereas actually I'm feeling more and more comfortable to lean in. I definitely know where my boundary is, and where I would be checking in with them about whether a therapeutic intervention or some other intervention is more useful to them at that moment in time than coaching. So I do know where that boundary is, but it's much further out than it ever used to be.
Right.
Where I used to, and I noticed that a lot in coaches who are at the beginning of their journey of mastery, that they are almost scared to lean into that emotion because they're wondering, well, what if it goes too far and I can't contain it back into it?
I laugh because I have no fear whatsoever of going into emotion. It's like, oh, so what's going on for you right now?
Yeah.
Right. It's there anyway. You can't avoid it.
No.
So,
and why avoid it? Because there's so much wisdom in it.
I also don't think we really know now where that line is. I don't think many people reach it, but when the coach is really uncomfortable, I'm guessing that's when they'll know. And if you have a mentor coach or a coach or a coach supervisor, which you can share that with them and they'll help you on the way. So you've got a support structure, so go crazy.
Exactly. Go crazy.
I can't help it that lately I actually put it in my agreement conversation, starting coaching is, so coaching has sometimes been compared to therapy. Sometimes it will feel like it is therapy and it's not, it's coaching. And I have one client, every time she goes, I'm ready for my therapy session, jokingly, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll get off then, and you let me know when you're ready for coaching, right?
Yeah.
She's a riot. I love my clients. I love what I do. You obviously love what you do. We're running out of time, but I have to say, I am very struck by your, I'm going to say, humility in light of everything that you've accomplished in this area. You're still like you're coming at it with open eye, wild-eyed anxiousness, learning, anticipation of like what's next, and and fresh onto an MCC and stuff like that. But I just wanted to say you're just so approachable, lovely, delightful conversation. Thank you so much.
I have enjoyed it too, Gary. This has been a generative and generous conversation.
Thank you. Well, we're going to ask you to be generous with one more thing. What do you want our audience to do as a result of the article and or this conversation? Because some people don't have the article.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, there's so many things I'd like to ask them to do. One would be to connect with me on LinkedIn, and you'll get much more of this stuff. I post a lot about.
And that's linkedin.com/in/Clare Norman-PCC, which you'll change.
It still says PCC at the moment, yes, but we are.
Goodness.
But that should still get to me, definitely.
Right. Okay.
And But also as a call to action, well, there's a call to action to mentor coaches, first of all, which is please start focusing on mindset, not just skill set, as you are working with coaches that you work with, to enable them to make a sustainable shift in their competencies, not just a shift to get them through the recordings with the idea. And then the call to action to coaches, if you don't already have mentor coaching in your portfolio of learning and development, add it in. Supervision and mentor coaching, as I said at the beginning, they are, I would say, the highest impact investments we can make in our self-development as a coach.
Where would you suggest that our listeners, readers go to find a mentor, coach, or a coaching supervisor?
So the ICF website has a listing of mentor coaches. So you can find the listing there of global mentor coaches. I'm not sure if there's a listing for supervisors as well on the global site. I can't quite remember, but I know on the UK site, we can tick boxes to say whether we are a supervisor.
Whether you are or not, yeah, okay, but offering them, you know, if I were to go look for one, would I find it there? Okay, ICF's a good, and I'm guessing EMCC would?
Well, the EMCC does not require mentor coaching. They require supervision. So you would be able to find supervisors through the EMCC site. You'd also be able to find supervisors through the Association of Coaching Supervisors.
Oh, right. Yeah, they wrote for the issue as well. So great. Well, thank you. And love your advice to your request to mentor coaches as well. That was awesome. And I've already said the best way to connect with you is at LinkedIn, Clare-Norman-PCC, even though she's an MCC, or at Clare Norman Coaching Associates.com. And both of those will be put, as they say, down here below the recording.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.
That's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. For more episodes, subscribe via your favorite podcast app, and we have it on good research authority that Apple and Spotify seem to be our key ones. That's pretty cool. Don't forget to sign up for your free digital issue of Choice Magazine if you're not a subscriber by going to choice-online.com and clicking the Sign Up Now button. Okay, wait for my closing change. I'm Gary Schleifer. Enjoy your journey of mastery.
Beautiful.
Got it. Thanks again, Claire. Have yourself a great day.
Take care.